Okay, we're up to the Mishnah on Daf Nun Tes on the days. Up to the Mishnah on Nun Tes on the days. The second Mishnah. Hasholech es habe'eroi biyad cheresh shoyte v'katan. Someone goes ahead and sends a be'er. He sends literally a fire, as we're going to see. We're going to again machloikes Reish Lakish and Rabbi Yochanan. So if you send a be'er biyad cheresh shoyte v'katan, patim b'din yodam v'chayim b'in shemayim. It's one of the four things we mentioned previously. It's one of the and we'll see exactly what the mitzias of the case is that we're going to say you are pata pata. Okay, it's in here. Okay. Shalech bi'at pikeach. If you send it in the hands of the pikeach, pikeach chayev ain't shliach l'dvar avera, right? You can't go ahead and burn something down and say that I was sent to do it, right? Because ain't shliach l'dvar avera. Echad hebi esar. A person brings a fire, and the fire itself can't do the job. In other words, it doesn't have enough to go ahead and flare up to spread. And one brings fuel for the fire, brings wood. So maybe it's eitzim chayiv. The one who brings the eitzim is chayiv. And the rule of thumb is, in this case, the last one is always going to be the one that is chayiv. If someone comes now and chayiv, one brings the simultaneously. No, first one brings eitzim. And then the one brings the fire. Maybe asar chayev. That was the latter one. That's the one that caused the damage. So one person brings the wood, another person brings the fire, and that itself would not go ahead and spread. However, the liba and it's fanned. The flames are fanned, and now as a result of the fanning of the flames, that causes the fire to spread. Then amalaba chayev. The one who's malaba is chayev. The fan is chayev, right? Then the fanner is chayev. Okay. Libsa haruach, right? And it was speaking about the ruach comes along, and it's a ruach einam mitzuya. Taisa says it's a ruach einam mitzuya. Kulam patur. Taisa, the bottom Taisa is of the opinion, fellas. If it's a ruach mitzuya, then it'll be chayev, because they had to enter their mind that would have happened. So here it's speaking about a ruach einam mitzuya comes along and it's pater. Okay, so now, what's this case of someone who gives a techeresh shayt of a cotton that you put them in the shemayim? So we had this earlier in the Masechta, in the sugya of eitzay mishum chitzav and eish mishum emaynai. Just to reiterate, the chiyuv of eish is a very interesting mazik. It itself, it needs help in order to go ahead and do damage. It needs help. It can't. It just, you light a fire and you hold a fire. It's not a mazik. It needs help. A shard doesn't need help. A shard can go ahead and by itself, right? But it needs help. It needs help. So if you go ahead and what's the chiyuv of eish? When the eish goes and does damage, is the chiyuv the fact that if you went ahead and shot it, eish mishum chitzav, it's eish mishum arrows, that you went ahead and physically you shot, you kind of shot it out, and therefore it would be like adam amazik. You be chayiv b'dalad devarim. You be chayiv in tzali p'sheva supoishes, which memoinai is not chayiv for, or is eish mishum memoinai. It's no different than your shar, no difference than your bar. You own it, And again, Taisus learned lav dafka. You owning it, even if you're responsible for it. Again, these are things we've discussed throughout the Masechta. So we're gonna have a machloikus over here. We had a machloikus earlier, and I'll give you an example. Eish mishum chitza would be, let's say, when you lit it and you didn't watch it, it had a clear path to go into somebody else's rishus. If you had a wall up there, then your chetz ends by the wall, because it doesn't have the possibility to go over the wall. So if it does, then it'll be Eisha Mishum Emono. That's what Rabbi Lakish, Rabbi Yochanan will be moed in that case, Eisha Mishum Emono. So again, the bottom line is that Masik is Eish, but the cause of it and how the lumdus of it is the Machlokes Reish Lakish and Rabbi Yochanan, and that plays a part in understanding of this case. So again, someone sends a be'erai b'cheresh shayt of a cotton, pata b'din yadam v'chayim min shemayim. What exactly are you sending? Are you sending an ember? Are you sending a charcoal? Are you sending a flaring fire? What exactly is the mitzias of the case? Okay, so that's what the discussion is over here. Says the Gemara. Reish Lakish the Chizkiah. Says Reish Lakish the name of Chizkiah lo shanu that you pata b'din yadam v'chayim min shemayim el shemas lo gacheles v'liba. You give the cheresh a gacheles. You give him a coal, the liba, and he fans it. Now, by nature, the coal is going to go out. So therefore, since it's ma'amya amya v'kuslu, it goes out. So you'd really give him a something that is a masik. It's going to go out. However, he fanned the flames. Aval masalei shel heves. If you would give him an open flame that he doesn't have to fan, then chayiv. Then he'd be chayiv. So somebody asked me a question about why. What are you doing over here? Is about lifta evil sitei michshol. We're not discussing lifta evil sitei michshol. We're discussing monetary discussion. What is is there a monetary chiyuv or not? Is there a monetary chiyuv or not? According to the Mishnah, no. But again, we're going ahead and defining that Mishnah says Reish Lakish is not what we think. If you give an open flame, you are being masik, and therefore you're going to pay. You're going to pay. You're going to pay. If you go ahead and give him an ember that he fans, then you're going to pay in Shemayim. You're going to pay in Shemayim. But in this world, you're not going to pay. Again, it would depend upon how. But the Meiri said you should pay, and Rashi says you're a Russia. We had the machlokes the other day. Now, my timer. What's the reason that you are potter if you give him what? The Maisa of Kogar Malay. It's his action. The Maisa of the Cheresh is causing it. Again, so Eishem B'Shem B'Maynayin, and says Reish Lakish, the Maisa of the Cheresh is Goyim it. Rabbi Yochanan Amar, a bigger chiddush. Rabbi Yochanan is a bigger chiddush. Afilu Maisala Shal Heves Potter. Even if you give him a Shal Heves, even if you would give him an open flame, you'd be Potter. My timer, Sabsa the Cheresh Gormalai. It's the grasping of the Cheresh that's causing it. Rabbi Yochanan is of the opinion, fellas, Eishem Misham Chitzov. So who's the Chitzov over here? It's the Chitzov of the Cheresh. Again, who's the force over here? It's the force of the Cheresh. And even if you give him an open flame, again, you're not a tzaddik. You're Michayiv b'din Shemayim. Again, don't think you're off the hook over here. But bidei Adam, I can't be Michayiv you. Why? Because I hold Eishim B'Shem Chitzyav, the power, and the force over here is what? Is the Cheresh. And Mamela, it's a beautiful, once you understand Chitzyav, it goes ahead and explains underneath the surface what exactly is over here. When would you Mechayiv? At Sheyim Saloi Gavza, you give him thorns. Salsa is small splinters, and Sharga and a light. Dahu Vaday Maisa Didei Gormo. In that case, what? It would be your Maisa. It would be what? It would be your actions. Then it would be your actions. So that's really that's the machlokes between Rabbi Yochanan and Reish Lakish. So according to Reish Lakish, only if you give an ember. According to Rabbi Yochanan, even if you give what even if you're going to give an open flame, each one goes according to their opinion. Rabbi Yochanan would say, where would you chay b'dinei Adam is where you go ahead and provide everything, then it will be chitzyav, then it will be your force. Says the Gemara Vaita. Shalach bi'at pikeach ha'pikeach chayiv, and then we said what? That's libo v'lipsa ruach. We said that if the ruach goes ahead and it fans the flames, that the one then if the ruach mitzuya be chayiv, ruach shein mitzuya, you would be potter. Okay, so says the Mishnah, says the Gemara, Amar of Nachman by Yitzchak, Manda Tani Liba. The one who sees the lashon of Liba loy mishtabish is not making a mistake. Umanda Amar Niba loy mishtabish. Manda Tani Liba loy mishtabish techsiv balabas eish. So you see that labas eish in the lashon of Liba of eish. The labas is the shirish of Liba. And Umanda Tani Niva loy mishtabish techsiv boirei nivsvasayim. Who that you created someone nivsvasayim who has a difficult speaking. If you look at Rashi, top line Niva kishadim medaber, when a person speaks minaneas vasav, he goes ahead and he moves his lips. The ruach yotza, and a ruach comes out from his mouth. So niva, so also would be the lashon of fanning flames. Lipsa ruach kulam peturim. Okay, so one person brings eitzim. Another person brings oil, and now comes along a ruach eina mitzuya, then you pata. Taisa says a ruach mitzuya bichayev. Tan Rabbanan. What about this one? Liba belipsa ruach. You have a little help over here. You are going ahead, what? And you are going over here, and you are blowing, and the ruach comes along and helps you. and the ruach comes along and helps you. So it's mashma im yesh bili buya kedei lil voisa. If there is in your fanning without the other help of the wind, then kedei. So you have a bellows and you're doing a good job, and if your a job alone without the aid of the wind would go ahead and cause the damage, then you'd be chayiv. V'im lav potter, and if not, what you would be potter. Let's see Tosfos, guys. Top Tosfos. Liba v'lipsa ruach im yesh b'liba kedei lil vois chayiv v'im lav potter. B'she'ein ruach b'fnei atzmai kedei lil vois mairi. It's speaking where the ruach alone couldn't do the job. It needed help. Di b'sheyesh ba kedei lil vois afil k'sheyesh b'liba hamal ba kedei lil vois lami yischayiv. The b'lav iunami hayohoylach mazik. In other words, the following. Listen to what Tosfos says, guys. Tosfos says that it has to speak over here that the wind alone couldn't have done the job. It has to speak over here that the wind alone couldn't have done the job. Because if the wind alone could have done the job, even if you were doing it that it could have done the job without the wind, why should you be chayiv? Because it would have happened anyway, because the wind was here. So notice, here's what happened. I needed a shituf of myself and the wind to go ahead and create it. That's the case over here. So again, Tosfos is libo v'lipsa ruach im yesh b'libo of kedei lil voisa. If with it you have within your you can do it. In other words, you can do it, and the ren can't do it, then chayiv. V'im lav, and if not, then potter. If lav, then potter. In other words, if you yourself can't do it, but in combination with the wind can do it, so it comes like Tosfos like this, fellas. It's mashma, you alone could do the job, came along an other wind and helped you. Then you'd be chayiv. But if the wind alone couldn't do the job. But if myself couldn't do the job, with the combination of the wind could do the job, then I'm going to be potter. So in other words, I alone couldn't do it, the wind alone couldn't do it, but together we could do it, and therefore the eish spread. Okay? So it's a very interesting kasha over here. I saw a kasha. We say Adam mu'ud la'olam. We say Adam mu'ud la'olam. So this guy, what's he doing? He's playing with fire. he's playing with fire, right? And so good, him himself couldn't do it, but comes along a wind and helps him. And l'chayra, why don't we say he's a mu'ud? Why don't we say he's a mu'ud? Why don't we say Adam mu'ud la'olam? Why is it chayiv? So beautiful of Chaim in the Rambam, Chaim Bisko, for Gimel Miskiris, says the beautiful distinction. When do we say Adam mu'ud la'olam, fellas? That's the inyan when he does damage. But to say Adam mu'ud la'olam to create the mazik, we don't say it. When do we say Adam mu'ud la'olam is if you did damage. In other words, I damaged, I was the mazik. So I can't tie that I was an onus on the scum, yeah, right? With so Tosfos. But it's namazai, you can't tie an onus. Why? Adam mu'ud la'olam. But what's happening over here? What's the kasha? I with a combination of the wind should be, and I'm a mu'ud, and therefore we should be chayiv. Here you're not speaking me doing damage. Here you're speaking about creating an eish that could do the damage. You're creating a mazik. We don't say Adam mu'ud la'olam in the creation of the mazik. That's the gimel from Skiris based upon Chiddush of Chaim in the Rambam. Beautiful Chiddush. Says the Gemara Vaita. Amai, now says the Gemara. V'im lav pata. Amai, why are you pata? Lahavi kisay reyach v'ruach misayatay. We know one of the obvious malachos is a reyach, guys. It's like a boiler. It's winnowing. They take a pitchfork. You put you put it into the wheat or whatever, and you throw it up in the air. The wind would come along, and the wind would go ahead and separate the wheat from the chaff, right? So that's called winnowing. So now, the Gemara is zustelling Hilchas Nezikin to Hilchas Shabbos, and it's saying that just like by your chayev, where you go ahead and the wind comes along and helps. And you're chayiv for Melecha Shabbos, so too over here, the wind comes along and helps. You should be chayiv in the seeking. And this we have 4 terutzim. Different directions. Different directions. In other words, you're blowing to the east, he's blowing to the west, and the Mela, you're potter. Rava Amar going shaliba beruach mitzuya, v'lipso haruach beruach sheina mitzuya. Okay, so you're Potter. Why? Because you're you're Milaba with Ruach Mitsuya, and the lips say Ruach Shenim, so you have to see how Taisus learns here. Zera Amar Kigoyin, it's Summit Simure. It's speaking about where you blew into your hands. You know when your hands are cold, you blow into your hands, right? So in other words, you didn't. That's not much of a blow, you know. So therefore, that's why you Potter, because you didn't really blow that hard. Avashiyama Kiam Rinan Zayreya V'Ruach Mesayato Hani Milian Shabbos the Malachas Machshavas Asr Torah. Aval Hacha Grama Ba'almahu V'Grama B'Nizakin Potter. Tell us, but when you was Zayreya by Hilchah Shabbos, right? So what did you do? You caused that what? You threw it up in the wind, and you caused the wind to go ahead, right? And over here, you blowing, and with the wind, you caused the fire to go. Grama B'Nizakin is Potter. Now, Grama B'Shabbos is also Potter, by the way. It's a big heta. But why isn't Grama over here? Because that's the Malacha itself. If I did a Grama to cause writing, if I did Grama to cause malbane, to washing, if I did a Grama in one of the 39 of his Malachas, I would be Potter. There's very big Patur in electricity. It could be a Grama, right? Masha'en came, what's over here, Zayreya? You're going to say the wind caused it? Yes, the wind caused it, but that's what the Torah calls. That is the Av Malacha. That's Heist Av Malacha. That's the Mitzias of the Malacha. It's the essence of the Malacha. So Mamela what? So we have 4 terutzim how to go and explain the difference between Shabbos and Nezikin. Right? We saw one pshat is that you're going in 2 different directions. Another pshat is that what the ruach you were malaba ruach mitzuya and there was a ruach ena mitzuya, or you blew into your hands very quietly, or you can't compare Shabbos. Avashi says you can't compare Shabbos to what to Nezikin. Nezikin is grama. Shabbos is that's the malacha. Says the Mishnah, Hashalech es be'era, you send out a bear, a fire, va'achla eitzim, oyavanim, oyafar. Now here's the pasuk. This is the pasuk of Eish, guys. Kiseitze Eish, if an Eish goes out, umatza kaitzim, and it finds thorns, the nechal godish, and a godish is eaten up, oyakama, or standing grain is eaten up, oyasada, or a field is eaten up. Shalim the one who ignites the fire, who causes it to go, is chayiv. Very wordy pasuk, correct? We look what we have. We have kaitzim, we have gadish, we have kama, we have sada. A lot of could have just said. That's what's going to. The Gemara will get into that. So hashalech has the be'eroi ve'achle eitzim oyavanim afar. If someone goes ahead and he sends out a fire, it eats up wood or stones, or it singes dirt. Chayiv shnemar. He says H umatcha kaitzim v'nechal gadish oyakama asada shalim mavesa be'era. Amarava lami dekas rachmana kaitzim gadish kama v'sada. Why do you have to write all those various nouns? So tzricha dekas rachmana kaitzim. If the Torah would have just written kaitzim that it eats kaitzim, havamina kaitzim udechay rachmana mishum b'shchicha eish gamayu. It seems that what people do with thorns, they burn them. I mean, I don't know too much about this stuff, but again, a good Boy Scout would tell you, or a pyromaniac would go ahead and tell you that thorns are good to burn. And therefore, I would say, since fire is found around kaitzim a lot, therefore I would say it's your pasheya. And therefore, if that's only kaitzim, you'd be chayiv. Aval gadish leishchicha eisim gabayu. A gadish, which the last thing in the world you want is your grain being destroyed by a fire. So you don't find things around there. You don't find things around. Leishchichi de pasha. And therefore, it's not shchichi that you push sheya emaloi. I would say maybe you potter. Because rachmana gadish havamina gadish chay rachmana mishum dehefsim meruba. It's a big loss. I will kaitzim dehefsim meruba. There's no big loss. Kaitzim are a dime a dozen emaloi. Now kama lamali. Why do you have to say standing grain? Ma kama begoli. Just like kama is standing out in the open. Av kol begoli. So to anything that is standing in the open, as opposed to tamun. Again, tamun, the Eish guys we know by now is potter, that if something is hidden, it's potter, correct? So therefore, that's what kama is the limit for that. Kama means just like a standing grain is out in the open, so to yichayif anything that's out in the open. Well, Rabbi Yehuda the Mechayev, in this case, taman beish kama lamali, and late Rabbi Yehuda says, in fact, that you are a chayev in this case, taman beish. Why does he use the word oyha kama for? The rabbi is kol bali kaima, anything that's standing. In other words, if you look at the pasuk, fellas, you might think only crops, things that grow from the ground, correct? With the kaitzim, gadish, kama, sada. How do you know? Bali Chayim. How do you know if you burns an animal? How do you know? So says says Yehuda Bali Koima, anything that can stand. Rashi adds Ilonis, trees also.
They're considered part of the ground because they eat from the ground.
But animals?
Yeah.
I don't know. Yeah, I mean, yeah, we said that it's linyan limudim, linyan Ma'aser Sheni, linyan Ma'aser Sheni. Rabbanon the rabbis call Bali Koima, Minalahu. Where does Rabbanon know that from? Nafkaluhu me oy hakama, from the oy. Rabbi Yehuda oy mi boile lechalik. I need the oy to be mechalik. I would have thought that without the oy, you only chayiv if you burn down thorns, gadish, kama, and sadeh. So I need the oy to tell me no, either one, any one of these that you be chayiv. The oy is mechalik that you chayiv in each and every one. Rabbanon chalik minalahu. Who are the Rabbanon no mechalik? Since they use the oy to teach me what called bali kaima, nafkalu me oy sadeh. Rabbi Yehuda, I need the kasach man oy kama kasav oy sadeh for symmetry. Now, sada lamali, lasuya, the sada lamali. Why do you need sada? Right, that's the last one of the four. Lasuya lichachay neiroi v'sichsach avanav. We had this early in the Masech, the fellas. When a person that used to go ahead, they would plow their fields, right? They plow their fields, and you would have wasn't planted yet, and you'd have the furrows, and comes along the fire and singes the ground, right? You'd be chayiv, even though what it's not no standing grain. What about stones? If it singes the stones, you'd also be chayiv. Let the Torah write sada, and you wouldn't need anything. Guys, if I'm chayiv on stones, certainly I'm chayiv for everything, right? Guys, just right. Kiseitze ate so much of sada, right? And you know everything else. Says Gemara, tzricha. Because of sada havamina masheb sada in midiachrin aloi, right? I would say dafka something that's in the field, but something else not. So kamash malon, other things aside from what's in the field. Okay, now it's time for a little agadata. Penny, let's quiet down.
Got it. We're gonna get his pillow.
Penny went to get a little stuffed animal. He got like a little. A
blanket.
Right. Rav Shimon bar Nachmani Rav Yonason. Ain pronius bala oilam. No pronius comes to the world at large. Right. When it says bala oilam, the world at large. Ela bisman sherishoyim ba'olam. In the time that there are rishayim in the world. The eina mascheles eliminat tzadikim tchila, and it begins with tzadikim first. Now, in the pasuk, fellas, who would you, if you here have to compare a rasha, would you compare it to a gadish or a kites? Kites, right? And a gadish that produces peiris, I would say, is a tzaddik. Oh, so, no, obviously yes. No, I set you up, right? Anyway. They mascheles eliminat tzadikim tchila. Shnemar kiseitze eish. A fire goes out, destructive force, the fire is a destructive force. It finds kaitzim, which are rishayim. Amos ayesh yaitza, bisman shekaitzim, mitsuyin la. When does the fire go out? When does destruction go out? Only when there are kaitzim found, only when the rishayim found. Now, how do you know it begins with tzadikim? Ve'ina mascheles eliminat tzadikim tchilish nemar, v'nechal godish. That's past tense, guys. Nechal godish, and the godish was eaten up. Why was it eaten up? Because it started with the tzaddikim. The achol gadish in Noy Nemar, it doesn't say it eats a gadish. It says it ate a gadish. Elav nechal gadish, nechal gadish kvar that already was eaten up. It was already eaten up from before. So you see that the Eish destroyed first the tzaddikim as compared to the gadish before they got to the kaitzim.
Is Jewish Risham or any Risham as well?
I don't know.
Or it's that they can be affected by the guy.
But I know. I think maybe I would say Jews. I'd say Tan Rabbi Yosef. My dichsiv. It says the atem leiseitzu ish Pesach Beisai. A person shouldn't go out of the Pesach of his house. I'd bike until the morning. A person should go out from the Pesach of his house in the morning. Kiman shinasim rishus the mashchis. Since we give rishus for what? For the malach hamashchis. Eina mafkin bein tzadikim le'rishayim. Doesn't discern between tzadikim and rishayim. It begins with tzadikim first. Shnemar yechrati mimech tzadik v'rasha. So this is very problematic. This pasuk, fellas, that says that what? What are we speaking about? We're speaking about Pesach Mitzrayim. So, guys, pasuk of beis. Ulakachtem agudis esav. You should take a bundle of what of high saps. Utifaltem bedom. You should go ahead and dip it in blood. Asher basaf, that's in a kli. V'gatem el hamashka. If you go ahead and bring it up to the beam. V'ashtei mezuzos in the two sides. Min adam asher basaf. V'atem leiseitzu ish mi pesach beitzad baiker. Don't leave until the morning. Do not leave until the morning. Now, so says the Gemara that why should you stay inside? Because when the Malach HaMashkes is out, when the destructive force is out, then you have to worry. Here's the problem. Who is out the night of Mitzrayim? You say in the Agada, Lo yal yedei Malach, Lo yal yedei Sraf, El HaKadosh Baruch Hu be'atzmai. So what do you mean? If this is your source that you should stay inside, right? If this is your source that you should stay inside, where's Uriah? Because okay. So Rashi addresses it. Rashi in Chumash says the following: the Atem Leiseitzu Magid Shemi Acha She Nosata Rishus Lemashlis Lechabel. Once I gave Rishus for the Malach to be Mechabel, Eina Mavchin Ben Tzadik LeRasha. The Laila Rishus Lemechablim Hu. And Laila is the Rishus of the destructive forces. For Laila, Rishus Lechabim, Boy Shenemar, Boy Tirmos Kol Chaysa Yada. In it, they will crawl all the Chaysa, the beasts of the field. So Rashi L'char, they learn is answering fellas with that line. The Laila Rishus Lechabim, who that night time is the Rishus Lechabim. And therefore, even though Hashem's out that night is the force. Say the Ramban, that means it should never go out at night. So if that's the case, it should never go out at night. That's no unique about this night. So he says the following: Lefi sha'Kadosh Baruch Hu oiver b'Mitzrayim kemelech she'oiver mimakom lemakom u'spaklaturim lefanov, and his forces go in front of him. Shlo yifka be'adam v'leistakel boy. When the king goes out, he has forces in front of him. HaKadosh Baruch Hu is going out this night, and since HaKadosh Baruch Hu is out tonight, you should not be out. That Moshe, Hashem, there are malachim that you can look at. This Hashem has his pamalia, he has his family, he's not. Hashem is doing the job, but this force is there. And the kivin shematzina b'shash shenasim mishus lemashlos lechabel sheina mafkim ben tzadik l'rasha lofikach ein adam mishoy l'shanis derech ha'olam sheyetze b'layla v'ishu zman shel chaya shenasim litroif vein lahafkim ben tzadik l'rasha. This night, this special night, you shouldn't be out. There's HaKadosh Baruch Hu, the Shekhinah is out that night, right? But in general, nighttime is the time where the forces are out there, and therefore you should go ahead on. According to Ramban, this night in particular is because you shouldn't look at the Shekhinah, right? And in general, as Rashi said, there are forces out at night that one should be careful. That's the way they answer it. Now, it's really interesting because, okay, I'll there's a Marsha over here. The Marsha says, "V'atam leseitzu ishim pesach beisai ad boiker." You shouldn't go out, guys, ad boiker until when? Okay, when did Hashem destroy Mitzrayim? B'chatzi alayla. So it says the Marsha, the Raya is not from the Laila, it's from the ad boiker, because Hashem left what? So notice, he's answering up the kasha of the Ramban on Rashi. In other words, the Raya is not from the word Laila. Because, why? Because it says ad boiker. Why ad boiker? Because boiker is the time when you can go. Ad Laila, he b'chatzi alayla. It wasn't, Hashem, you only had to worry about what until midnight. Midnight passed, and then you had the ad boiker, then you have to worry. So therefore, it's geschmack, like the Marsha, it's not focusing, fellas, on Hashem. Hashem is only at chatzos alayla, but ad boiker, a layla, from chatzos until the morning, then you have to worry. That's beautiful Pshat and Rashi, that you have to worry about Mechavlim. That's why Marsha will learn Pshat to answer a difficult question. Okay, Baruch Hashem. Okay, back in the Gemara. Bachi Rabbi Yosef, he cried. It says, "Tzaddik for Russia, they're getting destroyed." Hanami la'ayin doimim, right? Why do we compare to like Rashi says, "Klaima lehevel chashuvim at tzadikim shekoyim lepronius." What are tzadikim that they koyim lepronius? You know, they come first. Amalei Abaya tivusu legabaya. Hashem does a good job. Dechsiv kipnei aro nesaf at tzadik. Rashi shleyeru b'ra hasidim lavoi. They shouldn't see the raw that comes. They shouldn't see the raw that you know they're taken out of the world early, so they shouldn't see the evil that comes. I had something came to mind before I saw Rashi that tzaddikim sometimes, not saying often, they're mugging on their generation, and as long as they're alive, the pronius can't come. As long as they're alive, the pronius can't come. It's only after they're no longer in the world don't you have their protection. Yedua, the Germans came to power, Yamach Shemam, in 1933. They attacked Poland in September of 39, but the destruction of the Jews and the World War did not go ahead and begin until 41, because I heard this from the Chazon Ish, I'm not sure he said it, but there were three great Gedolim that died in the 40s and 41. Rav Baruch Ber was Nifta, Rav Shimon Shkapa was Nifta, and 41 Rav Chaim Meiser was Nifta. And as long as they were alive, they protected their generation. It's only after the demise that really then the Einstein's group began and the whole destruction began of Jewry. 33. Right. So again, that's a different way to look at things. In other words, over here clearly it's not pshat this Gemara. This Gemara is saying they're being punished. In other words, it's punishment they're taken out of the world. That sometimes they're taken out of the world. It's that Hashem, in order to go ahead and make his gezerah, that it should be, you know, that these people on. My first feeling when I heard of Chaim Kanievsky's that Salvus Nifta was that how much his Torah protected us, and who knows, well, as a result, like
he makes deal. And when they're gone,
that's my Rabbi Vernica told me. He said something very interesting. He said, okay, so anyway, so what happens if a person has the ability to be a Talmud Chacham and he doesn't? This is a different diak. What happens if a person has the ability to be a Talmud Chacham, and because it's the exact opposite, they're not Mar B'Shalom, they bring destruction to the world. And the biggest lie they brought is Einstein. Einstein could have been a ganz fine Talmud Chacham, I assume, right? We all agree to that. He learned how to make a laning, he'd be okay, right? Would have been ganz fine Talmud Chacham. But as a result of Einstein's theories, they were able to go ahead and build an atomic bomb. So it's the exact opposite. He wasn't Mar B'Shalom, let me brought destruction to the world. Okay, anyway. I'm going to Abaya. The Busig way, Abaya says it's a very good thing. Why? Dechsiv ki mifnei Rav, because of the Rav, the Ra that's going to come, Nesaf at Tzadik. I'm Rabbi Yudam Rav on the base. Says a person loyal yikonis Adam, a person should come home from the way b'chitoiv in a good time. Vayalkim kitoiv, that means when it's daylight. V'yetze b'chitoiv, and go out when it's daylight. Shnemar b'atem le'seitzu shepesach beislei ad baiket. Tan Rabbanan. Deva be'ir, when there is pestilence in the city, there's a plague. Kanis raglecha, go inside. Shnemar, right? It says by Makas B'chayris, V'atem le'seitzu ish mepesach beislei ad baiket. V'omer leich imi, boy b'chadorecha, u'sigor doloscha ba'adecha. V'omer a third pasuk, michutz t'shakel cherev u'michadorim ema. So we have it's seemingly three psukim that we have to explain. So kaidem kol is that when you have a pestilence, when you have COVID, you taka stay inside. I remember this Gemara when COVID was on, you stayed inside the house. That's what you're supposed to do. Now, so it said three psukim, right? The Gemara wants to know, why do you need all three psukim? Why do you need three psukim? The chitema, when you stay inside, hani mili balayla, that's only at nighttime. Aval biyamama loy, but during the daytime not. Tashma leich imi bo b'chadarecha v'sagud alasecha. Go in your room and close up, and that's during the daytime. The chitema hani mili heicha deleka ema b'gavoy. That's where there's nothing to be scared about inside. Aval heicha deka ema b'gavoy, when there's something to be scared about inside. Kinafik Yosef ben Inshe b'tzavsa ba'al matfei ma'alei. Maybe being outside with the company of people is better, and so therefore it says that no. The pasuk tells us that no, you should go ahead and michutz the shakel cherev mechadorim ema. Right. So from outside to shakel, you cherev. So you see that from the outside, and so stay inside. Tashma michutz so tashma michutz the shachal cherev mechadar meima. Afagab mechadar meima, even though mechadar the ema michutz the shachal cherev. Outside you have the destructive force of the cherev. Rabba be'edon rascha. Rabba in the time of rascha, of literally anger, but it means a plague. Avisacha kavi, he would close the windows. Tichsiv ki ola mavis bechalonenu. Mavis comes in our windows. Tan Rabbanon rav be'er. If there's a rav in the city, so pazer reglecha, you should go ahead and leave town. Okay, now there's an Indian over here. Say by he rav bar eretz vayor Avram Mitzrayim. There was a rav and Avram went down to Mitzrayim. Ba'omer. So the Ma'aseh but these are former Mitzrayim. It was Gehazi and his 3 sons, and they went over to Aram. So V'omer im amarnu novia ir v'arav be'ir v'masnu sham, and so the Chayr, they said, let's go over to Aram, even though what it may cause our demise, but there's a rav here, and maybe we'll get some food over there. Ain't safik meitzim midei vadai. Over here vadai we're going to die. There it's a safik whether they'll kill us. Ain't safik meitzim midei vadai. So my V'omer. Right, that's the Omer over here. Why do you need the pasuk of Gehazi and his sons? If you brought the pasuk of Avram, then maybe when do you go ahead and leave where it's not a suffering nefashos, whether you be killed or not? Where there is what a suffering nefashos, like by the case of Gehazi and his sons going to Aram, that they might be killed. Loy, you might think not. And then they'll let us live. So you see that even that's a suffix you go. Tanabanan. Deva be'ir alihalich adam be'emtzu haderech. If there's a dev in the city, don't walk in the middle. In other words, he's got his weapons out. He's okay. He's in the middle of everything. So stay out in the middle. Even the Yov Levishusoy, since he has Rishus to go ahead what and kill Maske lehedya. So he walks with you in the middle. Shalom be'ir. However, there's shalom in the city. Alihalich b'tzidei drachim. Stay away from the tzidei drachim. The kivin, the less Levishusa, since you don't have Rishus, he doesn't have Rishus to kill. Machme chavuye and maske. He goes ahead and he hides on the sides, and so therefore you stay away from the sides. Tanabanan. Deva be'er al yichnes adam yochel lebeis hakneses. Don't go in alone to the beis hakneses. Shemalach hamavis mafkid shom, because malach hamavis is mafkid shom kelev. I don't know what that means. Malach hamavis, he goes in and he keeps his kale in the beis hamedrash. So don't go in alone. Like Kori Bey Dart, there's no kids learning there. However, there's kids learning there, you don't have to worry. Or again, if there's 10 people learning there. So I don't know, I was thinking that it says don't enter Yachid alone. So that means that you're not alone if there are 10 people there, if the kids learning there, right? So does it mean that it's a base measure that's used for Dardikim, or a base measure that 10 people accustomed to learn it? Wasn't exactly sure of that. Yeah, I think that's what it means. I think I think it means that at times it's used by kids, at times it's used for base tefillah. So then you don't have to worry. Tanaban, kalavim boichin malach hamavis baleir. If your dog's barking, the malach hamavis is there, right? That's why that was a big thing, because the nature would be, their natural nature would be to bark. Why? Because the malach hamashkos was there. A klavim misachkim, if they're happy, Elio and Navi Baleir. Vanimila the less in the keva, because if they're happy, it could be there's a keva around. That's why they're happy. Okay. Yasir Ravami Ravasi Kamed Rav Yitzchak Nafcha. Ravami and Ravasi was sitting in front of Rav Yitzchak Nafcha. Mar Amalei Lemel Mar Shmaitza. Please tell us some halacha. Mar Amalei Mar Agadata. And one said, tell us not a god. We don't say who. We don't know it was Ravami Ravasi who said what. Pasach Lemem Agadata. So Rav Yitzchak Nafcha began to say an Agadata. Shavik Mar, the other one didn't let him. Pasach l'meim Shmaitza, Shavik Mar, the other one didn't let him. Amalhem, so Rav Yitzchak Nafka said to Ravami Ravasi, Em Shilchem Mashal. Let me go ahead and tell you what they're comparable to. Lamad David Doime, L'adam sheyesh le shtei nashim, a guy has 2 wives. Achas Yolda, v'achas Keskena, he has a young wife and an old wife. Yolda Malakit loy levenos, right? The younger one wants a husband to look young, so she's busy taking out the white hairs. Sekena, the old one, wants her husband to look old, so Malaka Shchayra, she takes out what? The black hairs. And Nimsa Kireach, he ends up bald. Right? Mikan, because that's why you have the Chem Rabbeinu Gesher, that people should keep their hair. Mikan, Amalehem, Ihachi, Emelchu Milsa the Shavit Shavach. So what am I going to do? I want to say this. You say no. Oh, no. So he goes, I'll tell you something that you'll both be happy. He said, "Say so much of kaisim in yana diyama." Teitze me atzma. It's mashma. It goes out itself. What does Rashi say? Teitze me atzma. What does atzma mean? Me atzma. Anachnu gamarnu loy shekelkanu v'evtiach hakadosh baruch hu l'shalem ki'ilu hu havira. Teitze me atzma means we caused it. It's mashma that what we caused it. Yet shalim yishalim amaves be'era. So who should pay the price? We should pay the price. Amar Kadosh Baruch Hu. Allah l'shalim es habe'era she'barti ani. He says, in other words, I'll pay. You caused it that the Beis Hamikdash should be destroyed, but I'll pay back. All right. Ani atzesi eish b'tzion. Shnemar vayatzes eish b'tzion. Eish was ignited against Tzion. V'toichal yisai desecha, and it ate away at its yisaidos. V'ani asur l'bnoisa be'eish. And in the future, we'll go ahead and rebuild it with fire. Shnemar v'ani eya lo chaymes eish saviv. U'lechavit eya b'seicha. And my cover will be inside of it. So, Shmaitza, okay. What does that mean? Pasa, what? That's the Agadata part, right? That's the Agadata part. Anyway, Pasuk HaKasa b'niskei memainai. The pasuk starts off with niskei memainai. It's speaking about, according to the in the Shittim Gubetzis, the Ra says it's speaking where you lit the fire and there was a fence there, so therefore it wasn't an Esim Shemchitzai. And B'sayim b'niskei gufay, but it ends up calling it out Shalim Maves Be'era. So why do we tell me that? To tell me that it starts with Maiman, but ends up Shalim Maves Be'era, the one who caused the fire, the one who is Ma'aver, to tell me Esha is Mishum Chitzav. And we'll stop over here. Do some